I own 153 Section 8 rental properties generating $200,000 a month in guaranteed monthly income. But today, I'm not going to sell you on how amazing Section 8 investing is. Instead, I'm going to talk to you about the ugly side of it. The problems, the headaches, and the things that nobody wants to discuss. If you've been researching Section 8, you've probably heard horror stories about destroyed properties and nightmare tenants. While some of these concerns are valid, there's a lot that gets completely overblown online, and show you why these problems aren't actually problems of Section 8 itself, but rather with ignorant investors who don't necessarily know what they're doing. This is probably the biggest concern that people have about Section 8. The stereotype is that Section 8 tenants don't respect the property and always cause excessive damage. But really, tenant quality has nothing to do with Section 8 status. Bad tenants exist in all segments of the rental market. I've had luxury tenants paying $3,000 a month at damaged properties, and I've had Section 8 tenants maintain properties better than I would. The real problem is poor tenant screening. Most landlords don't necessarily know how to properly screen their tenants. They don't check the references, they don't visit their current residence, and they don't verify their rental history. My screening process for Section 8 tenants goes a little like this. My property manager will call their current landlord and their previous landlord. My property manager will visit their current property to see how they're living. We'll even check their car, how they maintain their cars, how they're going to treat your property. I verify their Section 8 history with the housing authority. The incentive structure actually favors Section 8 landlords. Think about this, Section 8 tenants wait 10 to 15 years to get their voucher. And if they damage your property, they risk losing that voucher. So they have a lot more to lose than regular tenants would. The solution is very simple. Screen your tenants and you'll resolve 90% of the problems. Section 8 requires annual property inspections. The stereotype is that Section 8 inspections are nitpicky, arbitrary, and super difficult to pass. The reality is the inspections ensure basic safety and habitability standards. What the inspectors are actually looking for is working smoke detectors, no leaking plumbing, functioning appliances, no peeling paint, and safe electrical systems within the property. These are things that you should probably maintain anyway as a responsible landlord. The real problem is negligent landlords who defer maintenance. They let small issues within a property become big problems. They try to rent substandard housing. They get surprised when Section 8 inspectors call them out on the property. Now, how I handle my inspections? We have a pre-inspection checklist that I go through before the official inspection. We have a preventative maintenance program. We have a quick response time to tenant maintenance requests, and ultimately building relationships with the inspectors as well. My pass rate on Section 8 inspections is over 95% on the first time. And the solution? Maintain your properties properly and you're not going to have a big issue. Now, Section 8 involves government paperwork and processes. The stereotype is that it's endless red tape, slow payments, and frustrating bureaucracy. The reality is the process is standardized and predictable once you learn it. And yes, there is paperwork, the housing assistant payment contract, the request for tenancy approval, the annual recertifications on your property, and the inspection reports. The real problem? Investors who don't learn the system. They don't read the guidelines. They miss the deadlines. They submit incomplete paperwork, and they get frustrated when things don't go their way. How I navigate the bureaucracy? I navigated the process inside and out. Now, obviously, working at Section 8 helped with that. I built relationships with the housing authority staff. I created systems and checklists for every single form, and I stayed organized for deadlines and specific requirements. The reality is, once you learn the system, it becomes a routine. Payments arrive on the first of every single month like clockwork. Inspections are scheduled well in advance. Recertifications follow a predictable annual cycle. The solution: learn the process, create systems, and the bureaucracy becomes manageable. There's a perception that Section 8 properties are always in high crime areas. The reality is that Section 8 vouchers are in all types of neighborhoods. And Section 8 is not limited to specific areas as well. And vouchers could be used anywhere that landlords accept them. And a lot of Section 8 tenants live in middle-class areas anyways. The program literally encourages mobility and neighborhood choice. The real problem is the investors who only look at the cheapest properties on the market. They buy in the absolute worst neighborhoods to maximize their cash flow. They ignore the crime statistics and the neighborhood trends. And they're surprised when problems arise with the properties. Now, my approach to location, I carefully analyze crime using spotcrime.com. I use Google Street View to virtually drive through every single neighborhood. I look for signs of community investment and stability, and I avoid areas with high violent crime rates regardless of the price point. I own Section 8 rental properties in solid working class neighborhoods. Good good school districts, low crime rates, stable or appreciating home values, and most importantly, strong community ties. The solution? Do your due diligence on locations and don't buy in war zones just because they're cheap. Some landlords complain about payment issues with Section 8, late payments, missed payments, or even payment disputes, when in fact, Section 8 payments are among the most reliable payments through all the rental market. Government payments come in on the first of every single month, which is more reliable than most tenants. It's recession proof because the payments did continue throughout all of COVID, and it's directly deposited into your bank account. The real problem is landlords who don't understand the payment structure. They don't properly process the initial paperwork. They fail their inspections multiple times and they're surprised when payments stop. And they don't understand the tenant's portion of the rent versus the government's portion. Now, how I manage my payments? We have clear documentation of what the Section 8 tenant owes every single month versus what the government owes every single month. We have systems to track both payment sources. My property manager has immediate follow-up on any discrepancies. And we have regular communication with the housing authority. In 6 years with 153 Section 8 rental properties, I've had fewer issues with Section 8 tenants than with any other tenant type. The solution is to understand the payment structure, stay organized, and you'll have the most reliable rental income possible. Some investors worry about high turnover with Section 8 tenants. Now, the reality is Section 8 tenants stay longer than market tenants do. Section 8 tenants stay on average for 7.5 years in a property versus market tenants stay on average for right around 2 years. The real problem is landlords who create conditions that drive tenants away. They neglect maintenance on the property. They're unresponsive to tenant concerns. Now, how I minimize my turnover is we have responsive maintenance, clear communication, fair treatment, as well as clean and safe properties for the tenants. My average Section 8 tenancy is above 5 years. The solution? Treat your tenants with respect, maintain your properties, and they'll ultimately stay for years. The eviction concern. Some landlords worry about difficulty evicting Section 8 tenants. The eviction process is actually the same for Section 8 tenants as it is with normal tenants. Section 8 status does not provide special eviction status. Same state landlord-tenant laws apply, the same eviction procedures, and the same grounds for evictions additionally. The real problem is landlords who do not understand the eviction laws. They don't follow the proper procedures. They try illegal self-help evictions, and they don't document lease violations. How I handle tenant problems? We have clear lease terms with specific violation consequences. We have thorough documentation with any issues. We have communication with both the tenant and the housing authority, and we're following proper legal procedures when necessary. Now, the reality is the housing authority can actually be an ally. They do not want problem tenants in their program anyways, and they can terminate vouchers or kick somebody off the Section 8 program for lease violations. The reality is they could be a mediating influence through the process. The solution? Understand your state's eviction laws. Follow proper procedures, and evictions are no more difficult than with any other tenant. After covering all of these problems, here's the ugly truth. Most Section 8 horror stories come from lazy, ignorant investors. They don't screen their tenants. They don't maintain their properties. They don't learn the system, and they blame Section 8 for their own failures. The program itself is really not the problem. It provides affordable housing for those who need it. It guarantees rent to landlords who participate in the program, and it ensures minimum housing standards. The real downside of Section 8, it requires education, it requires systems, it requires proper management, and it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. For those willing to learn, government guaranteed rent, long-term tenants, recession-proof income, and a scalable business model. My students who follow these systems rarely encounter any problems. They screen tenants properly, they buy in good locations, they maintain their properties, and they learn about the program's requirements. So that's the honest truth about Section 8 investing. Yes, there are challenges. Yes, there are things that you need to learn. But most of the horror stories that you hear come from investors who fail to do their homework. Section 8 isn't perfect, but it's one of the most reliable, recession-proof business models available. I've built a $14 million portfolio with it, and I sleep well at night knowing the government is going to deposit $200,000 on the first of every single month. If you're willing to learn the system and implement the proper management practices, the ugly side of Section 8 isn't really that ugly at all. And if you want to learn how to do Section 8 the right way, check out the link in my description to learn more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.